Alfred Galustian, welcome to Australia and thanks for joining us here on Channel Vision.
Thanks, Steve. Good to be here. Yeah.
Can you tell us where did your passion for football originate? Where did it begin?
Way back. That's way back. I guess I was like 6 or 7 years old and at school really, and we used to, in those days, somebody brought a tennis ball to the school and we used to play like 50 aside, or it seemed like 50 aside. Anyway, I seemed to take to it, and it was then, and most of the games between 6 and 10 years old, it was with a tennis ball, and just playing at school, break time, after school, used to take a ball and, dribble it back home from school, and I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, okay, so that seems to be a general story with football in general with most kids. Do you feel that's still pretty well where passions for football begins with people?
Steve, I think you've got to love it. Why is Messi such a great player? I mean, of course, wonderful talent and opportunity and genetics maybe, etc. But he loves it. I know stories about him, coming to training before the players and leaving afterwards. It's just loving it.
You founded Curva Coaching. How did it grow? What was the development of it?
Well, we started in the US with one camp at Lake Placid up in northern New York State 30 years ago. And it became popular. We made videos in those days and a couple of books, and it became popular, this whole notion that skills training should be the foundation of how you teach football, and all other parts of the game can go on it. And I guess the people thought our videos and books were useful, so it became kind of a popular thing in the US, and then it spread in the rest part of the world through the videos again, and we started in Europe, and then Japan, and then Australia, and fast forward 30 years, we're in 25 countries.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. It is an international phenomenon, if you like. Tell us a little bit about Curva Coaching Australia.
Curva Coaching Australia, well, I think it's 15 years I've been coming here, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and we started in New South Wales, where New South Wales Soccer Federation were our licensee for 10 years, and it was built up, and several years ago we switched from New South Wales Soccer Federation to Jason Lancaster, who's done a phenomenal job in these last few years. I would say, maybe I'm biased because I love coming here, I would say that this is probably one of the best programs that we run all around the world.
Alfred, now one of the courses that Curva does run is the diploma course. Can you explain a little bit more of that, because I know it's quite essential in your whole program makeup?
Yes, Steve, the diploma course is a program that Charlie and I devised about a year ago. It's pretty new, and we've done it in Europe, we've done it in the USA, and it's really focused on coaches of all levels, but youth coaches, whether elite or grassroots. And it focuses on how to build your sessions. It's one of the biggest, most asked questions anywhere I go in the world. Coaches say, well, how do you make a session? What's the warm-up? What's the middle bit? What's the end bit? How much do you spend on small-sided games? And Charlie and I thought, well, we'll make a formula. We'll make a Curva formula. So basically, the diploma is for coaches to come and learn this formula, and then they can devise their whole session. If they do 6 weeks, 16 weeks, 32 weeks, the formula takes care of that. And it's also very important because I think we're in partnership with 442 magazine, which is a great magazine here. A football magazine that's tops in many countries in the world. And 442 also then can actually get our message, the Curva message out. But so it's a 442 Curva diploma for coaches of all abilities, all experiences, and it'll help you construct your practices for the whole season.
Okay, then now let's also have a look at the Asia Pacific, the Japan side of things. It's obviously integrally sort of connected with Australia, with us being in the region. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Japan's very interesting for me because I think it's the model for Australia. That's just my personal opinion, because now Australia are in that Asia Football Confederation, which Japan's in. I first went to Japan 18 years ago, and the J-League had just started. And I always think, Steve, that it's really important that you have a successful professional league, because then the kids have a pathway. And Japan, to me, is the model. From nothing, the J-League started in '92. And in Curva, because the J-League clubs just focused on the first team, there was no youth development. So basically what we did in Japan, also because it's 80% volcanic, there's no grass, no fields, and people used to play on dirt, etc. In Curva, what we started to do was take over tennis courts. And the tennis business was going down like the golf business in the 90s there. And there was a lot of tennis courts. And because it's 40 by 20, it was wonderful for small-sided football. So basically Curva took over some of these courts, converted them, we laid down in those days it was 2G, 1G, the Astrofield. Yeah. And that was 18 years ago. We started with one school in the suburb of Tokyo. And now we have 103 schools all over Japan, 17,000 kids a week. We have nearly 350 kids that have graduated from Curva programs into the J League, the professional league. 4 or 5 members of the national team squad, 2 members of the girls who just won the World Cup. So really what Curva did was they filled a void in youth development, especially between 9 and 12 years old. So I think if you speak to anybody in Japanese football, they'll say, well, Curva's made a huge impact on the success of Japanese football.
Yeah, and you see that's a way that Australia's going as well, because I know we've had a bit of trouble with our teams making the Olympics, for example, this year and so forth. Do you see it essential for that groundwork to be done in the early years?
Well, not only do I see it, but I think Han Berger, who's a technical director, sees it. And because Hans, we're both from Europe, we see that you've got to build a sound foundation. And that foundation's got to be technical. I mean, skills. Technical is a fancy word for skills. So it's got to be skills. And Curva can help. We're trying to establish the foundation. And what the work Jason and his coaches are doing here is invaluable, I think, to Australian football. And remember, you've got the grassroots, you've got zillions of kids, thousands of kids playing, boys and girls. And of course, you've got the elite. That's a small part. So programs like Curva that Jason's running, I think, are invaluable to the progress of Australian football.
Okay. What about the future of Curva? Where do you see the growth in Curva coaching and the role it can play in football in general?
Well, Curva coaching's expanding, but not in a silly way. We were very careful which countries we go to, who we deal with. I mean, we've got a very stringent. To become a Curva franchisee, you need to be selected, and it's not a money thing. A lot of things. Charlie and I have built something up that's been based on passion, football, quality. So we just want to keep it that. Maybe that's our legacy. We're getting towards the end of our careers. So people like Jason and my son Jimmy and Charlie's son Chaz, and the wonderful people we have in Japan. We have a wonderful CEO in Japan, Shinji Ishibashi, a former player. All these people are going to build Curva. I guess Charlie and I started it, and now these guys are going to take it on.
Why your visit to Australia this time?
This time, like every year, I've come to help the FFA in this elite player skills acquisition program. So I just did a week with selected FFA coaches and with Han Berger and Kelly Cross and Alistair Edwards, another great guy. And we worked with selected coaches. I also did a course for my really good friend Alex Tobin, who's a legend here. I mean, Alex is one of the best people I've ever met in football, anywhere. Yeah. So anytime he wants me to support him, I'm 100% behind him. And I've come to help or support Jason, train our staff, because training Curva coaching is really important. Because we keep updating our curriculum, then we need to make sure that our staff are up to scratch. So that's another reason I came here.
That's great. Alfred, enjoy your stay. Great to have you in the country, and thanks for joining us.
That's my pleasure, Steve. Thank you.